My friend, our Butler's pantry is officially finished. So let's take a look. This space is particularly exciting for us here in our pole barn home that we have built ourselves from the ground up. The Butler's pantry marks the final interior space that needed to be finished. If you recall, we moved in when we had hardly anything done. Basically, we had plywood kitchen countertops with contact paper stapled on it. We had the bare minimums to get by. And then we have been working on this home slowly but surely. But this is the last space that we needed to finish. And I am so excited to be able to share it with you because it might actually be my favorite space, but I think I say that about every room that we end up finishing. Now, as you can imagine, a pantry is pretty important for a family of 6 who basically cooks everything from scratch. So living without an organized pantry was difficult, to say the least, but for some reason this space just took the back burner to all the other spaces that we wanted to finish first. Now let me tell you, but actually let me show you some clips I got of this space right before we hauled everything out. It didn't always look this bad, but if you're like us and you know you're going to tackle a space and get it organized or finished, typically before that happens, it becomes the dumping zone and gets out of hand pretty quickly. So that is what had happened. We had just some metal racks to put our food storage. That worked for several years and got us by. But through the years we kept buying food storage and buckets of things that we use a lot. And without the functional organization and spaces for all that stuff, it got so out of hand. It was driving us crazy. So to get this done and have a place for everything, actually we have extra space still once everything is put away. It just feels so good. So as I show you the details in this space, I really just want you to soak it in. But if you want more information, please head over to my blog post. I will be writing a detailed article with beautiful photography of this space and all the written details. So if you want to slow it down, head over to tidbits-cami.com, linked below in the description, and check out my blog post. Also, if you're curious about resources, I will try to leave them all in the description. If I miss some, check the blog post. Now, while I'm showing you the space, I kind of want to talk to you about the purpose for it in our home. So I did kind of a roundup of some Butler's pantry spaces that really inspired me on my blog not too long ago. You may want to go check that out if you're just looking for more ideas for a larger pantry. If you happen to be lucky enough to have kind of a walk-in pantry, it is very popular to do a Butler's style pantry. Now for us, this space is going to function in many ways. This is not a minimalistic space. Now I do like a little less clutter. I'm not totally a minimalist, but I do like our spaces to be clean and free of clutter. And that's especially true for a kitchen space. We kind of have limited countertop space. We don't have a bar, we just have an eat-in style kitchen. And so a lot of times when we bring in produce or have appliances, it just kind of took up a lot of our kitchen countertop space and gave us less to work with as far as food prep and everything goes. So this space is largely designed with food storage in mind for us, and it is not minimalistic. There are a lot of countertops and they're chock full, but in such a good way. We very thoughtfully designed every little nook and cranny and storage space to fit our needs as a very busy from scratch cooking family of 6. So we did floor to ceiling storage because food storage was obviously top priority for us. We needed somewhere to hide all this beautiful food. In some cases it's in the cabinets. In other cases we've left it open to display, and mostly so that I remember what we have so I can use it. We can a lot of our own foods. I buy foods in bulk from places like Azure Standard or Costco, and I want to store it in a way that reminds me I have it so that I use it. So having all this food storage was definitely top priority in our design and in the function for this pantry. The other purpose for all this beautiful countertop space and cabinet space was to store our appliances. Admittedly, we use a lot of appliances, namely like the Instant Pot. Our blender gets used several times a day. Our mixer, we have a juicer, toasters. I actually have several Instant Pots, an air fryer. I do love appliances. I try to keep them at a minimum, but to be honest, because we cook all our own food, we use these things a lot. So I wanted a really convenient way to put as many appliances in here as possible. And it's so awesome because it frees up that countertop space in the kitchen, allows us to use that for all the food prep and serving that we want. But also, this is almost just an extension of our kitchen. So I have found that I'm in here actually prepping food and cooking food a lot since we use our Instant Pot so much and the blender. It's just this amazing extra space that we have on the side of our kitchen where all the stuff can just sit out, and I'm totally okay with that. All the appliances that we use the most frequently are just sitting out and ready to be used. We don't need to drag them out of a cabinet. We don't need to have cabinet space for them. Really, these countertops were built in mind to hold as many appliances as we possibly could to keep our kitchen a little more clutter-free. And finally, I'll mention here, as we designed this space, a huge desire and purpose for me was a place to be able to store a lot of the fresh produce that we bring in, whether that is from the garden. So when harvest season comes around, we get so much produce, and it was such a pain to try to find a place for it inside the kitchen. It would overflow into the mudroom, basically drive me nuts. So I wanted to make sure that this countertop space is always full of our fresh produce that we eat and cook with so frequently. So I am totally okay to just fill these countertops with the food that we bring in, and I'm especially excited to use it during harvest season with all of our garden produce coming in. It will be so nice. And then I also wanted to create kind of stations throughout this room that serve my family. So we have a little breakfast nook over here. I just have a few of the cereals that I do buy on occasion. One is this Kamut puff cereal. It is just Kamut, no sweetener. So I put it in this cute glass jar. They all have these little metal scoops in them that I found at Hobby Lobby. With this Kamut cereal, we just drizzle some honey on it, put in some strawberries or blueberries. It's delicious cereal and so healthy. And then I also occasionally buy other kinds. We often make granola, or I buy granola to top our yogurt parfaits or just to act as a cereal. So these are usually the only like cold cereals that we have. And I just thought it'd be so fun to have this little breakfast nook where those mornings that we are just way too rushed to make a breakfast, we can just grab some cereal right in here. Now, typically we make breakfast from scratch, warm breakfast, but there are those occasional mornings or snack times where just a bowl of cereal sounds fantastic. So I thought it was really fun to have them displayed like this. And then I also created this little snack area where I put some dried fruit in glass jars, and also some freeze-dried peppers. We love to snack on those. So we do have a freeze dryer, which has been amazing. So we love when we have an overabundance of fruit to freeze dry it. We either store it up high for long-term food storage, or it makes just amazing healthy snacks, and my kids will go through them pretty quickly. I also found this really cute tiered fruit stand kind of thing that I thought was fun to place some packaged snacks if we just need to grab something to go really quick. I really just want to invite my children to snack on the options that I want them to have, rather than reaching for maybe some other unhealthier options should we have those in the house at that time. So I love seeing them come to this little snack area and grab something just really healthy and really nourishing to get them through until our next meal. All right, so that basically sums up why we designed it this way. Now let's go through some of the design details and resources that you may be curious about as I've shown you this space. So let's talk about the first big two elements that I've actually already shared with you on YouTube and on my blog, and that is the rock wall and this wrap around curtain that I have for covering the lower cabinets. So the rock wall, it is my absolute favorite feature. I actually got a comment on my blog about this rock wall. She said it looks like it's always been there, and that is the vibe I was going for. I really wanted some old world charm in here. I want this to feel like a country cottage kitchen, and that rock wall delivered the design aesthetic I was going after just perfectly. So we have a tutorial on that rock wall. If you're curious how we did it, how much it cost, what materials we used, definitely check out that video or blog post. And as for this curtain, I shared a sewing tutorial for that. So if you have any table or vanity or lower cabinet that you think would look darling with a gathered curtain, check out my tutorial for that. It's way easier than you think and just really brings on the charm. Next, let's discuss these cabinets for a minute. Bless my husband's heart, he hates building cabinets and cabinet door fronts. They're really hard. It's just, you need professional equipment. We don't really have that, but he did an amazing job with my request. So we wanted to just do floor to ceiling cabinets, use as much space as possible to get us as much storage as possible. So we built this big kind of freestanding looking cabinet. I kind of wanted it to look almost antique. I knew I didn't want to bring an antique in here because it wouldn't go floor to ceiling, and really storage was my top priority, but I wanted something with a bit of character. So he built this cabinet with kind of plank or slats on the sides, and for the doors it goes all the way to the top with different sizes of doors. It's hard to get a really good picture of this for you, but I'm trying to step back as much as I can to show you what this looks like. We painted it this dusty green, so it brings in more of that old world country charm as well. And this is the main pantry place for us to put in a lot of the packaged things that we might buy, like some flowers and condiments and bags of chips and any extra cereal. Like, this is where we're putting everything that we get from the grocery store or that we stock up on. Mainly goes in here. I actually haven't even filled the top 2 rows yet, so I'm really excited to have extra room to get some more long-term food storage, which we just haven't been able to do in this home as much as we would like because we just didn't have the storage. So I'm really excited to start building up that food storage for our family. Now, above these open shelves is another row of upper cabinets. My husband built kind of this beadboard cabinet front look. It looks really good. I love them. We painted them all in this kind of mushroom color, and I will tell you the paint colors down below in the description if you're curious about that. So that is the upper cabinets. Again, they're not even full yet. We have some of our long-term food storage up there, but I'm excited to fill it up. Oh, I also wanted to answer a question that I know I'll be getting. So like I mentioned, these are floor to ceiling, and our ceilings are 12 feet high, so they are up there. So I am sure some of you are wondering, how on earth do we get to the food up high? So we debated installing one of those rods with the rolling ladders, but after some thought, we really felt like it would just be in the way all the time because they have to lean out, and so it would really take up this limited floor space that we have to move around. So instead, I have found a couple of really lightweight ladders that fold up really nice and slim. One is just shorter. If I just need to grab a little bit, I'll go and grab that. We actually use it all the time because all of our closets are 12 feet high and we've put shelving all the way up. So we're moving around these couple of ladders that we have a lot. So one is shorter, and then I found this other one that is a lot taller, and it is so lightweight. Even my 9-year-old can pack it around and get to these higher spots, and it's really secure. Like, it's got big footsteps, and it's really secure once you fold it out. Really easy to fold and put together. So I just have those stored in our mudroom. Sometimes I set it here against this when I know I'm gonna be in and out getting high stuff. But really, we're gonna use the stuff that's up high so infrequently that to put a rolling ladder in here that was not only expensive, but would just be in the way, just didn't make sense. So I will link to these ladders that I've found. They're amazing. If you have higher stuff, if you're nervous about reaching high stuff, highly recommend these really lightweight, sturdy ladders. So hopefully that helped answer something that you might be curious about as I'm showing you all these cabinets that are way up high. As for the lower cabinets, it is covered by this wraparound curtain. These are holding a lot of our 5-gallon buckets that we have, like extra flowers and sugars and all the like bulk supplies that we get. This got filled up with all of those buckets, and it's been so nice to have it there. The ones that we frequently use, we use the gamma lids on these buckets, so they're really easy to open and close. Otherwise, we just have some of our long-term food storage in these buckets. This is a great spot for them. And under here, I also store a lot of our canned goods, coconut oils, broths, anything that I'm buying in bulk from the grocery store, I'm storing here. I found these really cool rotating canned shelf things. Anyway, you can load it from the top and they roll down, so you unload from the bottom. That way you're rotating your canned goods really nicely. So I have a lot of those stored in here. They've been great for storing the canned goods. Anyway, that sums up kind of the cabinetry in here. Oh, I did bring in this one antique piece. I found it at an antique store, fell in love. It was the perfect dimensions to put to the side of this big cabinet. In it, I like to store my cookbooks, and then I keep a basket on top to just catch those onion things or weird appliance pieces that we need to store somewhere. So this is just kind of a catch-all. Above it, I have a chalkboard. I haven't actually used it yet. I keep forgetting it's here because we just haven't had this kind of convenience, but I love the idea of writing down the things that we need to stock up on or buy or that we're out of, so that we can write that down really quick while we're thinking about it, and then check it when we go grocery shopping. Okay, that wraps up the cabinetry. Let's talk about these countertops before I forget. When I share this space on Instagram, I've shared a few sneak peeks. I get a lot of questions about these countertops. So we made them ourselves. They're kind of a butcher block countertop, and I do have an old tutorial on how to make butcher block countertops from the ones that we made in our kitchen. So this is a really affordable way to get a lot of countertop space. And I love the walnut wood that we used in here. It really warms it up. But he basically made these from raw walnut wood, and then we decided to just seal them with like a food safe butcher block sealer. And that's so that we can do any food prep or chopping on these and kind of treat it like a cutting board per se. But really, these aren't super durable. Wood does kind of need some maintenance. However, I just don't see us using these countertops for too much food prep and stuff. Really, it's just for the appliances and the food storage. So we didn't spend more than we needed to get this much countertop space. Now, for the butcher block countertops that we did in the kitchen, we used more of an epoxy food safe sealer in there, and it works better there because we're wiping up water a lot. But in here, I just don't see that as being necessary, so it's just sealed with that butcher block sealer. All right, let's move up to the Backsplash, which we just used beadboard, and I love how the beadboard carries from the Backsplash to those upper cabinets. I think it looks really good. We just did this creamy white paint color for this beadboard. I toyed with the idea of doing bolder pops of color that's so popular right now, but I didn't want this to feel like a cave. I really did want it to feel kind of light and bright and let the color of the food pop. So that's why I went with kind of a creamy white. And then the shelving and the cabinets are that mushroom color. I really love that combo with the warm walnut wood. I just think it looks fantastic and timeless, and I can see myself being happy with it for a very long time. So my husband did build all these open shelves, and I really wanted some open shelving in here. One, to just display our food, but also just to display some really cool antiques to give this room a little more character. So he built these shelves with a peg railing and then this little strip of wood just under that. I think it adds a lot of character. It just looks very charming to me. Now, if you've noticed, there's a trend to do a brass bar on your open shelving. Those brass bars would have cost quite a bit, so we toyed around with different ideas, and my husband just trimmed down some walnut wood and actually attached that to these open shelves to get the same look of that brass bar, but it's that dark walnut wood. Looks great with the countertops. I really love the look of it. I don't know how secure it is. It feels pretty secure, but we're in earthquake county, so I did want something there to maybe prevent a disaster in here of losing all these home canned foods should we have an earthquake. I don't know if it'll do the trick, but it's something. So we have that walnut rod running the whole length of all these open shelves, and I love the look. Now, I did actually get some concerning comments about leaving our home canned foods out where there's light, and maybe the temperature isn't regulated as well. Honestly, definitely food is stored better in kind of maybe a root cellar or basement. We don't have either yet. We hope to do a root cellar someday, but these aren't actually all of our home canned foods. So I do have a lot of them stored in the cabinets for longer food storage, but I really feel like we use this within a year's time, and I don't think the light will spoil it. There's very little light in here. Actually, there's only the one window above the sink, so I'm not too concerned about the food sitting out here. I think we will use it and rotate through it quick enough that it won't go bad. I did forget to mention about the sink when I talked about the countertops, so let's go back to that. So we did put this tiny little sink in here, and it has come in so handy. And I can see when we're bringing in produce from the garden, this is going to be even better, where we can wash it or stash that food until we get around to it. So I love having this little sink here. Now, because we have the wood countertops, if wood around a faucet gets wet too much, it can damage pretty quickly. So we did another stone tap, and that is what it's called when you insert a chunk of marble or stone under the faucet. It works so good in our kitchen to prevent any water damage on the wood countertops. So we did it in here again. Now, I do have to say, this whole sink area is a little non-traditional, I guess. It's not too common to see a sink faucet turned to the side, but this is the space we had to work with. I didn't want too deep of a countertop on the end. I wanted to make sure we had plenty of walking room and room for these cabinets to open up. So we have kind of a narrow countertop, and the faucet wouldn't fit behind it. So I really just ran with the idea that this is a little quirky, a little different, but I actually love it. And this faucet is unlacquered brass. It is so beautiful. I just found it on an Etsy shop. I will link it for you. But it just sits under this window. Love how it turned out. I was a little nervous about this design decision, but I'm quite happy with it. And of course, you've probably picked up on a lot of the decor and stuff that I have hanging around here. I try to find things that are functional and decor. Sometimes they're just pretty, and I'm okay with that too. I've hung a lot of our linen tea towels from my Tidbits and Company shop. If you love linen as much as I do, go and check out the tea towels that we have. I love to hang those around. I love the texture. and pops of color that linen can bring. So definitely go check out my shop at tidbitsandcompany.com for some of our linen goods. I think you'll love them. And I appreciate any support that you can give me to keep me going and being able to create this free content for you. Anyway, I feel like I've talked enough about this space, but I really hope you've enjoyed seeing it. If you want even more, head to my blog and check out that post there. I would love to hear your feedback, what you think of this space. If you have any questions, if you have suggestions for me, I am all ears. I'd love to hear it all. I'd love to just to talk with you guys and connect with you and get to know who is watching my channel and to be able to serve you a little better and with your interests. So definitely leave me a comment below, and then I will be back to share more inspiration for the keeper of the home. I really hope you've enjoyed seeing this space. And next up, we are headed outdoors. It's finally warming up here, and we are excited to finish our porch and get to some of the landscaping. It's long overdue, but now that the house is finished inside, we are ready to tackle the outside. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon.